US and Australian foreign and defence officials are meeting today in Brisbane for talks. Concerns about China's expanding influence in the region and a deal to buy American nuclear-powered submarines are expected to dominate the discussions. US Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin says Australia and the United States will defend themselves against any aggression from China.
And I know that both of our countries are concerned about attempts by the People's Republic of China to depart from these principles. We've seen troubling PRC coercion from the East China Sea to the South China Sea to right here in the Southwest Pacific. And we'll continue to support our allies and partners as they defend themselves from bullying behavior.
Let's bring in John Blackson now. He's Professor of International Security and Intelligence Studies at the Strategic and Defence Studies Centre, Australian National University. Joins us from Canberra. Very welcome to the programme. So it's pretty clear then that China's influence in the region is the big concern here for these talks.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a tension there between what the United States is articulating and what Australia is going along with to a large extent, and the felt need of the countries in the Pacific. The concerns in the Pacific have tended to not focus so much about great power competition. To a large extent, there's been a receptivity to Chinese funding projects and so on. That there's a little bit of wariness about that, of course, but the major concern is about looming environmental catastrophe. A lot of these small island states are very low-lying and very vulnerable to, climate change and the prospect of sea level rise. So that's what they're pressing for. And this is an opportunity for China to compete and, outplay Australia and the United States. Of course, we know also that there's a military activity going on at the moment, a major activity called Talisman Sabre, 30,000 troops, 13 countries involved. But the critics of the United States have long argued that it's got, it's a $1 trillion hammer looking for a nail. And when you look at the challenges of the Pacific, it's not just military that's a concern. There's governance, there's environmental concerns, and there's a range of high technology issues that all interact. So there's no question that the United States and Australia are looking to collaborate, but they're facing real stiff competition and a challenge of narratives in the Pacific as well.
But you mentioned the military there. I mean, how significant could a deal to buy US nuclear-powered submarines actually be?
So the proposal for nuclear-powered submarines, it's an expensive proposition, no doubt, but it has the potential to transform Australia's ability to operate in and around the Indo-Pacific, up into the archipelago through the various straits, the Malacca, Sunda, Weta, Lombok and Torres Straits between the archipelago to the north of Australia and Australia. This is a complicating factor for China. China does not want Australia to have nuclear propulsion submarines, and that's largely because nuclear propulsion submarines are really good. They hide, they're hard to detect, they can move really quickly, and they can stay on station for a very long time. That complicates any kind of adversarial cajoling action that China might contemplate when it comes to confronting Australia, the United States and others in the region. And of course, there are a number of hotspots. People think about Taiwan, but there's the South China Sea. We've seen news in the last few days on the 70th anniversary of the ending of the Korean War of ballistic missile firings. We know there's only an armistice there. So there's a lot of hot issues in the Pacific, and it's not just climate change. Of course, climate change is the most pressing one for the Pacific. So reconciling the two is a real challenge.
John Blackson, we very much appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.